Hello, welcome to my channel, Bow and Arrow Tarot. Today we're going to get right into the weekly love outlook for Sagittarius. Now this is going to be an outlook into a connection that Sagittarius has with someone because we're going to be pulling their cards and your cards. So this is really a general outlook into a possible love connection or connection that you have with someone in your life, Sagittarius. And we're just going to see what the state of that connection is for this coming week. Now it could be in separation or crisis or challenge, or you could be doing very well, or there may be other influences that are impacting this union. Whatever the cards say, that's what we're going to look at. And please remember that this can't possibly resonate for all Sagittarius. This is only one snapshot into one possible relationship for one Sagittarius out there. If it does resonate for you, if it does relate to you or give you some clarity, then that's wonderful. If it doesn't, then of course, just let it go. It isn't for you. I've already been shuffling off camera so we can get right into cutting your deck. All right, Sagittarius, let's get right into it. Your person is resonating with a Five of Swords, and you are resonating with a Four of Swords. They see you as the King of Cups, and you see them as Judgment. They see themselves in a relationship as the Queen of Swords, and you and the relationship themselves and the relationship as the Queen of Swords. You see the relationship and yourself in it, your role in it as star energy. Okay, guys, interesting. Two of Swords, bottom of the deck. So there's a decision that needs to be made about this union or this love connection, this connection that you have with someone. This is a very interesting reading straight off the bat. You guys definitely are in a stage right now where you are either healing or learning to reconcile through something, right? This right away feels like a relationship or a union that has been quite rocky. There's been a lot of ups and downs. And right now it just seems like it's all kind of shifting and there are a lot of decisions that really need to be made. Let's get right into it. I'm going to come back to that Two of Swords. And I'm going to pull some clarifying cards later on from the Cosmic Tarot deck also. But let's get into it, Sagittarius. Straight off the bat, we have two very interesting cards. There's an abundance of swords cards on this as well. So, of course, this reading or this union has a lot to do with ego and communication. Your person is resonating with Five of Swords. You're resonating with Four of Swords. Well, Five of Swords is the card for defeat. It's the card for defeat when you're in a battle with someone who's quite underhanded, someone who generally does not play by the rules. The battle itself can be quite exhausting. Sometimes you say to yourself, well, why am I even bothering? It's this feeling of being in a battle with someone that you know you can't really win because of the nature of the battle. You know that they aren't playing fair. You know that they're resorting to all kind of tactics that you yourself wouldn't resort to. So this battle, whatever this battle is, and 5 is always the number for a power struggle in the tarot. Whatever this battle or power struggle is that you're having with this person, it's really beginning to make you feel like, look, I'd rather just throw up my hands and say you win. Right? I'd rather just give them their victory because the battle itself just isn't worth it to me. You know, I just find myself lowering myself to their level. You know, it's just like the whole nature of this power dynamic is toxic to begin with. And it's like you really kind of are feeling like you want to rise above. This is the feeling that your person is resonating with this week. It's a real feeling of being fed up. Right? It's a real feeling of sort of having had enough of a particular struggle that they're having with someone. You are resonating with Four of Swords. Now, you are, of course, really contemplative this week. You're trying to decide the best way forward. You're trying to be very strategic. Four of Swords is the card, excuse me, for truce. 4 is the number for stability, and Four of Swords, it's when we kind of decide to retreat to our corner because we don't want to lose all of the ground that we've achieved, right? We don't want to lose all of our stability by making the wrong decisions or by continuing to engage in something that isn't good for us. So we kind of say, look, I'm going to call a truce. Let me return to my corner. You return to your corner. And you really think about things, right? You think about the next move. And that's what Four of Swords is all about. That person laying on his coffin or memorial burial chamber, right? This is an old ritual that used to happen, a tradition or ritual that happened during the Crusades in Europe. And this is why you see this on the traditional tarot deck for tarot card for Four of Swords. It's what a soldier would do when they went out into battle and they survived that day, right? They didn't die, they survived. They will come home to their ancestral burial chamber, which was very popular in those days for certain levels of society, and they would lay on their tomb, not only thanking their gods and angels and guardians for having lived another day, but also to prepare, to strategize, to think about the best way forward in respect of the fact that they have been spared another day, you know, to live, to fight again another day. I think that that's where that term also comes from. So this is all associated with the Four of Swords. It's very deep meaning, and it's more than just waiting. A lot of times people interpret this card as just, you know, waiting to make a decision. It's a lot deeper than that when you think about the tradition behind the card. It's really sort of more than anything, it's being grateful for what you have and not wanting to lose the stability you've already established. You're not wanting to lose what, you know, I want to say the gains in your life for the sake of just charging headlong, right? For the sake of just being very emotional when you're making your decisions. So this is quite interesting that you two are resonating this way. I think clearly this is a relationship where things are quite off, right? Communication could be quite off. I do believe that your person is feeling this way with regard to their connection with you, because you are also feeling very sort of pensive, like I said, quiet, thinking about your next move. Now, how do you guys see each other? This is where it gets interesting. Your person really sees you as the King of Cups, so they see you as I want to say the determining factor in this relationship, the alpha in this relationship. The King of Cups is certainly the dominant figure in any relationship. He's the king. He's the one who sets the rules. He's the one who sort of says, you know, he sets the rules of engagement, right? The King of Cups is the person who goes out and hunts, right? He's the one who goes after what he wants. It's not a gender thing. It could be a female also, but it's just that the King of Cups has strong masculine sort of outward energy, fiery energy. And so the King of Cups is the person who's going to be sometimes quite jealous in a relationship, maybe even possessive, right? They are sort of all about maintaining their relationship, their union, and on their terms, right? So they see you this way. And they see you definitely as, like I said, the dominant factor in this union, the one who kind of like, it's down to you if this moves ahead, right? So it's almost a feeling of you having all of the control, perhaps, in this relationship, in this union. You see them as judgment. And so here we go. You see them as wanting to reconcile. Clearly, they're trying to come back. They're trying to reconcile. They may be trying to gain your forgiveness for something. And this is why this dynamic is quite interesting. It feels to me like you're dealing with someone, Sagittarius, who is sorry about the way perhaps that they treated you in the past. They may be quite, you know, they may have come back to you and asked you for your forgiveness, right? Judgment is all about forgiveness and laying your sins bare and realizing that we are all human, we all sin, and sort of learning how to forgive yourself and forgive others, right? So it's really interesting that this is how you would see your person, and yet they're seeing you as the King of Cups. They're seeing you as sort of the person who has to... you know, the King of Cups has to agree to be in a relationship, right? So again, holding all the person, it almost makes me feel like your person is like, look, if they can just convince their Sagittarius to take them back, you know, it's all down to whether or not my Sagittarius will take me back. You know what I mean? It just feels to me like the decisions, all of the decisions in this union of whether you guys stay together, work on it, and everything is really down to you, because your person is clearly, and as far as you're concerned, resonating with judgment in the sense that they're the ones who are really trying to sort of make amends, give you what you want, gain forgiveness, you know, etc., etc. So coming back to this, it does feel to them like they are in a battle, right? And this is interesting that they will resonate with Five of Swords, because Five of Swords feels like a battle you just can't win because the other person is willing to do whatever they want. It almost feels like your individual may have this week may be getting a bit resentful. All right, they may be getting a little bit more resentful about the situation. It may be that you're not coming, you're not the one who's moving forward as quickly. You haven't necessarily made up your mind. Here we get now to the Two of Swords, right? There feels like you are dealing with an impossible decision, or there is this decision in this relationship that feels like it's all or nothing, and it's like really hard to make. It's like the two options are not options. Remember, Two of Swords is always about finding balance, and although a situation feels like it's calling for a black or white, binary decision, this or that, and that's it, the lesson, right? The message of Two of Swords is that when you are in those type of situations, specifically when you are in situations where you feel like you're being given an impossible decision, those are exactly the situations that call for you to seek balance instead, because Two of Swords is all about balance. Seek balance in this situation, right? Seek to find a third option, the option that really truly is the option that works for you, right? There is always room to make another option in any scenario in life, especially scenarios where you are being given ultimatums, or you are being given options by someone else, and they're forcing you to make a decision out of options that they've given you, which really takes all the power out of a situation for you. You don't have to succumb to that. You can always enforce your own will, free will, and say, no, I reject your entire construct. I'm going to go this way, right? There are consequences depending on the scenario for doing that, but the options are always there for you. And so Two of Swords talks about this kind of balance. So it's interesting that you may have been given a very specific decision and you didn't go the way your person wanted it to go, or the person who gave you that decision. You may have said, well, look, you know what? I'm not even playing by your game. And I'm not even playing your game. I'm not playing by your rules. You're not going to force me to make this stupid decision that I don't want to make in the first place. I'm going to find my own way. It could be that you've handled it that way. In any case, interestingly enough, there was a decision on the table that hasn't necessarily been made. And so your person is beginning this week with this Five of Swords to feel a little bit, I believe, like they're the victim, right? Like they're never going to win. They're the victim. Like perhaps you are playing unfairly. Now, I'm not saying that you are, but when lovers are jilted, or when people are in a position where they have to really a lot of times be sorry, right? Be sorry for their actions, rather than really embracing that, that feeling of regret and truly sort of making amends, a part of them will seek us to resent it a little bit, right? Certainly if you're not very emotionally or spiritually mature, you will resent being forced into a situation, as far as you're concerned, of having to apologize or having to be the one to make amends, even if it's right. A lot of people will always have a little part of them that resents them. That's the ego talking, right? And it is natural. I'm not saying it's a horrible thing, but it happens, and it's natural when people are people. But nevertheless, this is starting to peek through here. Now, how do you guys see the relationship? When we get into the relationship and how you see your part in it, your person sees the relationship and their part in it as Queen of Swords energy, and you see the relationship and your part in it as the Star. So Queen of Swords is all about being extremely honest with those around you, and more importantly, being honest with yourself, ripping away the masks that perhaps you have been hiding behind or covering. Maybe you have allowed yourself to fall into a certain role, in a relationship, or a certain way of behaving in a relationship, right? You may have fallen into a somewhat codependent communication kind of model, because swords are all about the mind, the communication, and the ego, right? So it could be that for a little while you just weren't being honest with yourself about who you are. Well, now, let's say now that you you are done with that. You say, look, no, I'm going to be me. I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to play a role. I'm not going to be put into a box. This is who I am. And you begin to see clearly through your own eyes and through your own judgments. This is the energy we're talking about with the Queen of Swords. Now, your person sees their part in this relationship or this relationship as a Queen of Swords energy. So I think they feel very much like they're the ones who are trying to be honest about who they are, and that they're trying to get that from you also, right? It's almost this feeling of someone who might say, well, I know who you really are. You know, I know what it is you really want. I know you better than you know yourself, right? It's a little bit of that, because it's this Queen of Swords. Your person is certainly feeling like they are being as open as they can with the, you know, with who they are. Right? They feel as though they are very sort of objective and they have full clarity. This is how they see themselves. And this is how they see their part in the relationship. So they're certainly seeing themselves as bringing honesty to the relationship also, right? Requiring that from you. But it's interesting. It feels to me, because of all of this going on here, right? Because there does feel like there's a strange codependency here. This is how they see themselves. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the truth, right? It doesn't necessarily mean it's an accurate sort of, representation. Just because they see themselves as the Queen of Swords and their role in the relationship as Queen of Swords, as bringing honesty, etc., and they see the relationship as one that brings honesty to us, right? They feel like it. To me, it almost feels like it's a little toxic. Right? It feels a little bit like this person is like, well, look, I know this relationship is meant to be with you, Sagittarius. I know it. And, you're only being honest with yourself if you're with me or if you're in this relationship, because I know that we are soulmates. Do you know what I mean? It seems like a little bit of this toxic kind of domineering, very, sure that they know better than you know. And that, their truth is your truth, that being in this relationship, which is their truth, is also what you're supposed to be doing, because of course you fit into their model of what their truth is, right? That you're their soulmate, you're their twin flame, you're supposed to be with them, right? If you're not with them, then you're not making the right decisions for your life. All of these types of ideas are toxic. I mean, these are very toxic ideas, whether you realize it or not. You cannot say with any certainty that you ever know what somebody else is supposed to be doing with their life. And the minute you go kind of down that road of thinking, I can guarantee you're down a very dangerous road, because that is that kind of goes into a completely different realm. That all of that type of thinking comes directly from the ego, not the spirit. It may feel like it's the spirit telling you this, but it isn't. The spirit would never tell you that you know another person better than they know themselves. The spirit would never tell you that you know what's right for somebody else, because that just isn't the nature of the spirit, right? That is an ego. So that's oftentimes the ego voice talking, and it talks very convincingly and very strong. And a lot of people confuse the ego with their higher selves giving them information. But if you can see the nature of the information, you will know right away where it's coming from. So it's ego-based, it's egocentric, and it feels a little bit toxic to me. Again, another reason why, Sagittarius, you might be very strategic, trying to think about how to get away from this situation or how to move forward. I don't feel a lot of love here. Right? There isn't any cups here. I don't feel a lot of love. How do you see yourself? You see yourself as the star, right? So it's like you're seeing your role in this relationship as constantly having to sort of fertilize some sort of objective. The star is all about your ultimate wish and desire for your life, right? And all the way along the way towards fulfilling that wish, you're constantly fertilizing sort of the ground on which you stand, right? So you're always making steps, you're always taking decisions that help you work towards your goal in life, help you sort of fertilize your creativity and your strength and your passion and all of that to continue to working towards that ultimate wish for your life. And so it just feels to me like for you're feeling yourself like this relationship is just something that you're really having to work at a lot, right? You're really having to sort of I want to say for you, it brings sort of like the vision, right? The wish, it may be that you have tried to work with this person, explain to them what it is you truly desire in life, the type of relationship you truly desire. And it seems like you're always working for an ultimate outlook here, an ultimate vision of this relationship, whereas the other person is dealing very much with their kind of rules and regulations and constructs and ideas about the way things should be, right? I think that you are still very idealized about it. You're feeling like, well, maybe this is still the relationship of a lifetime, or this is still the love of my life, but it's all very much kind of I think with the star energy, I just feel like it's all very wishful. I think it's all, from your point of view, Sagittarius, it just feels like you're doing a lot of the work of keeping it on track towards what you had agreed, right? Or what you had hoped for here. Seems like you're doing a lot of the work. A lot of the work of the vision, because the star also talks about working towards a goal, right? So working towards it means like, working all kinds of aspects, fixing things, right? Fixing things in yourself and all of that, it's properly working towards a goal. And it just seems to me like you see your partner relationship as the one who's always sort of trying to keep it on track, trying to keep it where it's supposed to be, about the love and the connection. Whereas your person is very, they have two swords here. So they're dealing with a lot of sort of rules and ego and sort of an idea of how things are supposed to go. Two of Wands for your person to clarify, and Ace of Wands. Wow. You have the World and the 10 of Wands. Interesting. So your person is definitely wanting to move forward. We have at the bottom 7 of Wands. So again, it feels like oh man, it feels like you're being very courageous right now. You're really working through something here, right? Your person is the person coming back, reconciling as far as you're concerned, right? You're wanting to really maintain this dream that you have for your life, for your relationship. And to a certain degree, I think you still feel like this relationship can be a vehicle for that with that star energy, right? Your person does feel like you both need to be honest. And if the relationship is going to work, then what needs to happen is the Queen of Swords needs to come in, and you both need to be honest. Now, regardless of this, whether or not this energy is slightly toxic, like I said before, or not, there's still a point to be made that, yes, of course, being very honest with each other about who you are and what you want is the only way forward. And it could be that, Sagittarius, you may need to be a bit more honest about what it is you do truly desire, what it is you really are working towards, because the star energy that you have, it may not be shared with your person. They may not be seeing the same vision that you're seeing. Now, 2 of Wands and Ace of Wands comes in to clarify. Your person is very, very passionate, Sagittarius. They're very passionate. They're not going to let this go. They're not going to let this relationship go easily. If there's issue or challenge here, they want this relationship. They want to make it work. They want to move forward with it. They feel extremely attracted and impassioned by you. This is someone who is really, really in love with you, Sagittarius. Ace of Wands and 2 of Wands. They absolutely are not going to let this go. They feel like this is the love of their life. This is what they're supposed to be doing. This is the relationship they're supposed to be in. 2 of Wands is Mars and Aries energy. And Ace of Wands is the great phallic symbol in the deck. So this person is going to be somebody who is also just unmitigatingly attracted to you. So they can't pull back, right? They do, however, like I said, this week is going to be a strange week for communication. And it could mean that really, if you want this to move forward, if you want to take that third balanced option, if you really want to realize this star energy, this desire that you have for the right relationship you want in your life, the right soulmate connection, This week is going to be all about communicating. You're going to have to be doing a lot of talking. And certainly your person is going to have to be open to that also. The World and Ten of Wands. For you, Sagittarius, you are right now, things are beginning to happen in your life that are really fated and destined, right? It feels like everything is kind of in concert for your better progress. Things just seem to be happening the way they should. The World talks about that kind of energy coming into our lives when everything sort of coalesces in a way that it should. Everything kind of works out. It feels like you are exactly at the right place at the right time in your life for you. And it feels good. It does feel like you also have 10 of Wands, which is an unburdening. You know, you're going through a particular unburdening, a particular release of baggage. You're mature. Excuse me, you're maturing. Right? You're maturing. You're coming out of a period that has probably been quite difficult. I think that just even in your own personal sort of path of manifesting your goals and dreams, you're doing quite well on that. Separate from this connection, right? You are coming into your own with regard, I think, to probably your career, your business. You're letting go of a lot of baggage. You've gone through a lot of healing with this 10 of Wands. And it's interesting because while this relationship may have been in a little bit of challenge for a little while, it's like you've done your own personal growth here, right? You've done some really strong growth. And I think that if you have just recently gotten back together with this individual after a time maybe of separation, or if you never really separated, but you're just having a little bit of problem with communicating, this entire time you've also been kind of maturing and growing and getting wiser. So you're a different Sagittarian now than you were before, when you guys, perhaps before you either broke up, if you did, or before this crisis, really not crisis, but this kind of, you know, energy shift is happening. Why do I say an energy shift is happening? Because you see your person coming back as judgment. They're coming back to reconcile. You know, they're coming back for forgiveness. So something went down here, right? Something happened. But it's like they're just not willing to let go. They're just not willing to give up. My only pause for thought here also is this 5 of Swords. Your person does feel like they don't want to fight and argue anymore. Now, whether or not it takes 2 to fight and argue, right? So whatever this is going to be the main reason why this week you guys are going to be doing a lot of talking. Whatever this issue is where they just don't want to argue or fight about a particular area, that's going to be the area that you really want to talk about this week, because that is the area, if any, that's causing this kind of fluctuation in energy where I'm not, you know, we're not getting many cup cards here, right? The only cup card we have is the King of Cups, which is how they see you. So they certainly, you know, everything to do with the love and the connection and the union and the relationship is tied up in that King of Cups, how they see you. And everything else is like Wands and Swords energy. So it's a lot of thinking, a lot of talking that you guys need to do, certainly. And you have to think about, at the end of the day, if this really is the type of relationship you truly desire, if you really want to move forward in it. Just remember, your person is not letting anything go. They're absolutely attached to trying to make this work. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it at that. March 15th to the 22nd for Sagittarius. This ran a little bit longer because the message was quite interesting, a little bit, you know, a little bit different, a little bit of a lot of energies going on, you know, a pinch of this, a pinch of that happening here. But in any case, I'm going to leave it. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and share, Sagittarius. Don't forget to leave me comments. Let me know if you're going through something like this. Share it with the collective, you know, all of that good stuff. Check out your other readings, which are also linked in the description. But for this week, for right now, Sagittarius, have a wonderful week. And I'll see you next week for your Love Tarot Outlook. Bye-bye now.